this Instagram thing, that brouhaha?
Yeah.
You do? Oh my God, what do you know about it?
Just kind of how like Instagram's being used as like a way to gain confidence, right? Is that what you're going at?
Okay, well, hang on, go to the next one. How about this? Instagram acknowledges that their app can harm teens' self-esteem in response to a report, right? Instagram's grim appeal is a silent self-esteem breaker. So as a young woman, are you on Instagram?
I am.
So tell us about it. How do you? So I'm going to do what Facebook did. How do you feel when you're done scrolling through Instagram?
Well, I like only use Instagram for memes. Like I am not the girl who like sits there and looks at other girls' posts and
right.
comments and is like, "Oh my gee, like OMG, you're so cute." Like I'm not that person
Okay.
on Instagram. I kind of just like find the funny pictures and send it to people.
Okay, so let me ask you this. So do you aware of, do you remember this? This was like a few months
Yeah.
ago. So what do you think about that when you read those headlines? What's it lead you to conclude?
Well, I definitely have like friends who are this way, so I can like I see the effects on other friends of mine, but there definitely are a lot of issues with girls posting just to try and gain some confidence, and it does hurt them a lot of the times because they may not get as many likes or comments as they want.
Think like a scientist using the scientific method. What could you say about this that you could say if you were having a conversation with you're talking to this class and you're going to make a conclusion based on this. Is it how on target is it? How far would you go to say like, okay?
I mean, I would say, I'm going to use their exact wording. Instagram can harm teen self-esteem in response to Republic. It can definitely harm.
Can harm.
It can.
Okay, that's a nice sign. Totally. It could be one person out of a million.
Yeah.
But that's a really nice way to say it. So you held up the sign. Your professors would be proud of you. Okay, you can make that conclusion. All right. What's the yes but that you had? Do you have any yes buts?
Yeah. But it's not everyone.
Okay.
It's only a small group or
Okay.
half the group, or I
Okay.
wouldn't say it's all teens, or
Okay. And how many is it though?
that's what we don't know.
Okay. Except that, so here's what they said. They said about 30%. So here's how so do you wonder how they got these data?
I don't know how they got the data. I don't
Okay,
remember.
all right. So now the risk is that you would be sitting around with your friends, and you'd be talking about this, and you start talking about, just about Instagram, and like, this, that, and the other thing. And this is this whole class, right? Everything we're talking about in here. Racism, inequality, gender, discrimination, everything. It's like, well, of course, police are violent. Of course, police kill more black and brown people than white people. Of course, it just only makes sense. Even though we never look at the data, we have no idea. We don't get a sense of it, but we look at headlines, and the headlines tell us that police are violent, and they kill a lot of black people and brown people. And they kill white people, but more black and brown people. But we don't ever go and look. We don't really have to. I saw the video. Like, what do you mean, what video? That one video? You saw the story of the young girl on Instagram, and then, committed some act of self-harm, right? It's like, well, hang on a second, okay? This is the challenge of sitting in a class like this, or any class in living life. So here's what they did. Facebook just did this kind of voluntary thing. They just sent this questionnaire opportunity, this link out. I don't know how they did it, but it was just random, and you could just click on the link and answer a question. And the question basically was, and these were to teenagers, young, identified women, young girls, right? And it's just like, how do you feel after you're on Instagram? Do you sometimes feel really shitty? Who's going to respond?
Probably only the people who have a strong opinion.
Okay.
It's whether they feel really shitty or they don't feel really shitty.
Okay. And 3 out of 10 responded back that yes, I have, not I do every time, not this is my life, but I have scrolled through Instagram and And I have scrolled through Instagram and felt really shitty afterwards. Okay?
Yeah.
Well, I've scrolled through Instagram and felt shitty afterwards, and I'm like an old man. You know what I mean? Like, whatever. Like, okay, I got it. So here's the other side. So then I say, okay, this is really suspect, because this isn't science here. And then I say, well, who else has talked about this? Who studied this? Right? Because you're a scientist, right? You're an emerging scientist. So
Sure.
every one of your professors is an expert on something, right?
Yeah.
So if you want to think about that, you want to go to that person who's been studying it forever.
Yeah.
So then I go to this guy, go to the next one. I'm like, here's this dude, Lawrence Steinberg, who studies this very issue. And he's written like 500 some articles in his career. And this is like what he really, really does. It's really, really complex. You have to operationalize. Feeling bad? I mean, tell me, what are all the things you got to, like, think about that. You want to study this. Like, what would you do?
I mean, it'd be a lot of work.
Be a lot of work.
Get that done. I mean, there's a lot of like bias when it comes to things.
Yep.
Like this, because
Yep.
you need like the volunteers, but like volunteer bias could also happen. and
Everything.
Non-response bias. And
Yep.
there's no exact way to get an answer on this question.
Yep. And this guy is saying, listen, I've been studying this my whole life. Not just me, but there are lots of people out there studying this very issue their whole lives. And like, it's inconclusive, right? Just like eating McDonald's every day isn't really going to kill you. If you actually understood what went into a McDonald's hamburger, you'd think it would kill you if you ate one of those 7 days in a row, but it really doesn't. And so like, surprise. So then I go here to this guy, and I'm like, well, it actually is not, it's kind of inconclusive. So then you as a young woman who's reading the headlines, as just a person, right? Then now what's your conclusion from this?
So my conclusion from this would be, I mean, Instagram can be a tool to either express yourself, but there definitely are consequences from trying to express yourself. I mean, you can't control everyone and what everyone says, so there's definitely like repercussions from posting everything you do or say or
And with this guy, with the people who study this, y'all, right? It's people who study this. Just like, you do what you do every day of your life. I do what I do every day of my life, right? We're all doing it, whatever we're doing. But you got other people, this is all they do is study this. And they're going like, it's kind of inconclusive. I'm not really sure. So what's that tell you about all the opinions that people are spouting out in the world, right? Like about voter fraud. Oh, there's voter fraud. How do you know there's voter fraud? How do you know that? Well, I wrote it on Facebook. Really? How much voter fraud? I know people, this is all they do. All they do their whole lives for 30 years, they've been studying voter fraud. Ask them if there's voter fraud. Don't ask your Uncle Joe. You know what I mean? Well, my Uncle Joe says there's voter fraud everywhere. I'm like, well, fuck, what the hell? Who's your Uncle Joe? Like, what's he know? You know what I mean? Go ask this person over here. They've studied it for 30 years. Ask them what they think about voter fraud. They're some really smart people, and they really want to get to the truth.